In our series, The Road to 2020, we are talking to current and prospective candidates about issues affecting the country. Washington Governor Jay Inslee is running a presidential campaign centered on fighting climate change. As governor, he launched a clean energy fund to invest in new technologies. The Democrat also issued a clean air rule to cap carbon emissions in the state and expanded public transit in the Seattle area. Governor Inslee joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Governor, let me ask you this. A lot of people think that in politics right now, you can't take on an issue that is this large. The opposite party of yours, the majority opinion in that party is that human contribution to climate change is minimal, is not the driving factor. How is this going to get changed in any significant way through the political process?
Well, through democracy, with people expressing their voices, and they are expressing voices now. We are a scientifically literate country. We just took the first pictures of a black hole, and yet we have a president of the United States saying that climate change is a hoax. He says that wind turbines cause cancer. Look, wind turbines don't cause cancer, they cause jobs. And we have a message for America of job creation. We already have 3 million people working in clean energy industries. The most rapidly growing job is in solar installer. Number 2 is wind turbine technician. So what is happening now is people are realizing the economic potential and job-creating potential of growing a clean energy economy, and that's why this is rapidly changing.
Go ahead.
You seem to accept, though, that the system has to change for this kind of idea to be tackled. You've talked about, for example, getting rid of the filibuster in the Senate. So you do admit that the system needs to change, and then the question is, think of all the laws that would have been passed that Democrats wouldn't have liked in the last 2 years if the filibuster hadn't existed.
Well, listen, there's nothing wrong to say democracy can be reformed and improved. We know we need to get rid of gerrymandering so people actually have one person, one vote. I believe that it's time to have popular elections so people's vote decide who the president is rather than the Electoral College.
You want to abolish the Electoral College?
Yes, I think the Electoral College needs to go. And importantly, if this nation is going to make any major reforms in health care, in climate change, the filibuster needs to go. It's archaic. Its time has passed. It's time for us to have democracy again and movement in this country.
How much traction are you getting on the Electoral College? A lot of people say it has to go, but yet here we are a gazillion years later, and it's still here.
Well, we are making progress. You know, actually, we have an agreement amongst multiple states now to be bound by the popular vote. And we only need a few more states right now to make that compact effective, so that you can essentially effectuate the popular vote even without a constitutional amendment. This is the popular will. We ought to have one person, one vote, and we ought to have the ability to move a clean energy economy. Look, I'm the only candidate who is saying this. We're the first generation to feel the sting of climate change. We're the last generation who can do something about it. And we have to make defeating climate change the #1 priority.
I stayed up last night to watch you late on CNN's Town Hall. Yeah, you seem to be enjoying it, Governor, I have to say. I'm a little sleepy this morning. How about you? But you said last night that it's a matter of urgent peril and great promise.
Yes.
I think sometimes so many people still, despite all the evidence, don't get it. Tell us about the peril and the promise, if you can, in 1 or 2 sentences.
Well, the peril is right now the Midwest is under floods. We've had billions of dollars in damage. We saw Paradise, California burned to the ground. We saw ashes on the hoods of cars in Seattle. Our forests are now burning. The peril is quite obvious and very personal. I met people, a couple in New Hampshire the other day whose daughter missed 2 years of college because of Lyme disease spread by ticks now moving north. So the peril is obvious, but I think the most interesting thing is the promise of clean energy jobs, the promise of giving new people advanced manufacturing possibilities, the fact that today 3 million people are working in clean energy industries. And I think that plays to the optimism, the can-do spirit of America. I think we're ready for a president who believes we can do big things again, rather than being fearful, hiding behind walls. That's the spirit of America, and I think we're ready for a leader like that.
You sure you want this job?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Governor, we don't have a lot of time, but real quickly, are you for Medicare for all?
I'm for Medicare for those who want it, and we are developing a public option now in my state, and I believe we should have a rapid expansion of Medicare, and I believe that is a very tenable way because we have to have the ability of everyone to have health care.
And then quickly, the largest employer in your state, Boeing, the state, while you were governor, gave them an $8 billion tax break. 346 people have died. Has Boeing adequately addressed this problem?
No, they have not, and it pains me to say that because I come from a Boeing family. My cousins, my uncle worked in Boeing. I'm hopeful that the Boeing team can fix problems with a particular airplane. But no, obviously there is a problem that needs to be redressed, and should have been redressed earlier, frankly.
Should their CEO resign?
I don't know the answer to that, but I know this because you mentioned the tax issue. We should no longer allow corporations to extort tax breaks from communities, like happened in my state. I believe we should have a federal law that prevents them from doing that, using the federal tax code to protect citizens from that type of activity.
Governor, thank you. You know, I covered the governor's race for Congress 20 years ago when I was a print reporter for Roll Call. Rode the ferry with Trudy, right? His wife, yeah. Been a long time.
One of us is not aged. It's not me.
Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Governor.
It's not Norah. No. Thank you, Governor. I don't know what you looked like back then. I think you look okay today.
Oh, a lot better.
Governor Inslee, we thank you for joining us.